The 2025 Women's Euros is here. In preparation for the tournament, we're analysing every single nation. Today, we're on to Netherlands. After a disappointing few years, the Oranje Leeuwinnen are looking for a more positive experience in Switzerland. However, being in the group of death won't make this easy. This video, we analyse their tactics and why nobody's quite sure how they're going to play. We also look at why they've dropped off since 2019 and how they're preparing to come back. This is our Netherlands Euros preview. Right, let's get into it. Today we are on to Netherlands and we're joined by Dutch football expert Jan-Kees. Jan-Kees, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a while since you've been on. Last time to talk about Serena Wiegman. Now time to talk about the Netherlands. Shall we start by talking about Netherlands' history in this tournament? Give me a brief run through, Jan-Kees.
Well, we've been here for the it's the fifth time. So we've been here since 2009 and never quit. So we came in strong and we were there to stay. So since 2009, we had variations in result. Actually, every possible variation you could imagine. Going to the semifinals in the first tournament in 2009, and then getting knocked out in the group stage in 2013, and then winning the Euros in 2017, obviously, and then getting knocked out by France in the quarterfinal in England's Euros in 2022. So yeah, we have had almost anything except for a lost final. So maybe that's happening this year.
So that's your expectation for this year. Then we can bin off the last part of the video. It's definitely going to be a lost
Yeah.
final. But yeah, obviously Netherlands, we've seen a real rise in women's football in sort of the last decade. But it has started to stagnate somewhat, do you think?
Yeah, it definitely has. Obviously, some injuries didn't help, but I think the federation fell short a little bit because they actually wanted to assign Arjan Veurink after Wiekman left after the Olympics, but they weren't quick enough. They were a little bit hesitant. I don't know what happened there, but they weren't sharp. And then Veurink obviously went to the FA with Wiegman. That was what happened. And they were in problems, and then they had to. Then they signed Mark Parsons, who was partially still active in the USA as a club coach. So that wasn't ideal, and that caused a bit of a dip. And then afterwards, we were quite unlucky with the things that resulted after like having um, big successes in 2017 and 2019 at the World Cup, and then it got a dip. Lieke Martens was disappointed and was a little bit burned out, which didn't help. And then the coaching thing didn't help, and Miedema got injured in 2022 as well. So that's the main reasons for the dip, I think.
Yeah, and do you think that could be a problem? You mentioned the coaching issue. Could that be a problem coming into this tournament? Obviously, Netherlands already know that they will change their manager after the tournament. Surely
Yeah.
that has an impact.
Yeah, I think I know Andries Jonker isn't happy about that because it gives a lot of speculation, a lot of things that aren't actually going about football. That's what he thinks is important, and he fell victim to it. So he has to manage his own feelings about that, and now also has to manage going up against Wiegman and his new his head coach who was going to replace him. So there's a lot of things that he needs to manage, and I think it won't really benefit the Netherlands that the federation has decided to do it this way. They say they will go come with an explanation, but we haven't heard that yet. So it's still a little bit of yeah, it has an uneasy feeling. 2 days ago, or I don't know when this is going to get aired, but the new assistant, was announced as well for the Dutch Federation after the Euros, because obviously we lose two of our assistants to the FA. So there's still like things coming out that where I think, well, is that a good idea when you're heading to a tournament? But they're doing it. It's all happening. The FA didn't help in the announcements as well. So I don't know if there's a thing going on there, a little bit of I don't know what's the English word for it, but there's definitely being they're definitely getting teased a little bit. They're teasing each other. That's the right phrase. So yeah, that's something that Andries Jonker is not happy about.
Yeah, it feels a really bad time for stuff like that to happen when you're just about to go into a major international tournament. And the most recent Nations League fixtures, it wasn't the most impressive performance from Netherlands. Is that a potential reason why?
No, I don't think so because the other windows when it actually was way more recent, they were really strong. So pretty strong, especially the matches against Austria. They were pretty good, even though they had variations in strong phases in the games. But the overall result was good. So I don't think it really had an impact on the squad. You never know if it could be better, but it still wasn't bad. So the last matches, I think just a lot of people were thinking about a holiday, and that didn't help. They were tired, and maybe they couldn't get motivated enough, and they also missed Miedema and Berestein up front. So that's a big reason to dip in performance, but it was still pretty shocking that game against Germany. So if it is all caused by just tiredness and just missing Miedema and Berestein, we have seen matches without Miedema that were far greater than what they've shown that window. So it definitely did not help for excitement against the Euros, and we definitely worry a lot more to the group stage.
Yeah, fair enough. Looking back though to the qualification phase last year, which a whole year ago now, when that was when
Yeah,
actually the
yeah.
qualifiers were, but much better performance, but still not perfect from Netherlands.
No, no, no. It wasn't great. But there was a big case to be made about injuries because at a certain point, um, well, after the Nations League, when we got to the semifinals and third place our game, then we missed a lot of players. The Jackie Groene missed. Biedema missed out after we thought, well, she's going to be back. So that was a disappointment. Lieke Martens was out because she decided to retire. So that didn't help. So there was a lot of yeah, a lot of key players they were just missing out. So I think that was a big result, especially the game against Italy. But then yeah, the ideas were missing. We drew three times and won two times with 1-0. So that wasn't a great time for the national squad of the Netherlands. No.
Yeah, well, they only scored 4 goals in those
Yeah.
qualifications, but equally they only conceded 4 goals. So perhaps those attacking injuries, as you mentioned, were the problem. And looking forward to this Euros, though, still a few injury concerns. Viviana Miedema is expected to be back, but
Yeah.
she has missed the last few months. Victoria Pelova only recently back from injury.
Yeah.
So they should be back in time, but still a little bit of a concern there.
No, I don't think so. Obviously, it looks like there's reason to worry. Victoria Pelova didn't get a lot of minutes at Arsenal, so that didn't help. But she actually started two games for the Netherlands, and then she performed really well. So Victoria Pelova is no concern for me. Viviane Miedema, no concern really for me as well because she just looks confident in interviews and she's really determined to have a good tournament after a lot of misses in the past tournaments. So I think she's actually okay. I think. Um, Yeah, the injury, the time that's given for the injury is already over. She has trained all the trainings fully, did all the 11s v11s, so that's a good sign. I think she's ready to start in the Euros, unless something happens. But I have a feeling it's going to be okay.
Right, let's talk tactics then. So looking at this Netherlands side, they're the side coming into this tournament who I have the biggest questions over. And not because of the quality in the team, but because they've played so many different shapes and formations over the last few months that there's no real clear decision on which formation they're going to use. However, I think they are more similar in how they're going to function than a lot of pundits are saying. So let's have a look then at this Netherlands side. So I've started by lining them up in a 4-3-3 with the back line of Brugge, Berman, Janssen and Kasper. Now, this back four is going to be the same regardless of what formation they use. If it is a back five, Kasper tucks in to, or a back three with wing backs, Kasper will tuck inside us. We'll look at in a bit more detail a bit later, but yeah, those four players are fairly staple in this side. The big question mark in midfield is who's actually going to play. Now, it feels fairly certain that Jackie Groenen and Danielle van der Donk will play. As for who else is in there, we could see Palova. We could see Groenen in this deeper role and then bring someone like Vika Kaptein in. We could see Damaris Egarola, though she's not favoured by Andreas Jonker. So we'll see what happens in there. But I think it will be Groenen, Palova and van der Donk. And then this front line, now quite an interesting thing here, is Jill Roord, traditionally a central midfielder or box-to-box midfielder, playing in this left wing position. Beerenstein, who is very capable on the right or through the middle, playing on the right wing, and then Viviane Miedema up front. Now, this is quite, the situation playing Roord is quite interesting because if we move them into an in-possession shape, you're going to see why it starts to make a bit of sense. So we're going to see Viviane Miedema in her usual position, leading the line, trying to break into the box, trying to get shots away in this sort of area, being that big, thick physical presence. We're likely to see Beerenstein holding the width out here, though we could also see the attacking midfielder come out wide and Beerenstein operate in this half space or vice versa. I think trying to drive Beerenstein inside would be really useful because she's a player who can be incredibly dangerous in these sorts of positions. So that could influence how they deploy, which tactics they deploy and then how they use them. And then Jill Roord is going to come from this left space into this half space here, allowing Esme Brugge, who is traditionally a winger, can play either fullback or on the wing, to operate as this auxiliary winger. And so then you've got Roord and you've got van der Donk as your interior 8s or 10s working in these half spaces, and Brugge and Beerenstein holding the width. And then if you bring the players up, we're going to have this usual 3-2-5, which I feel like going through these teams, it is the most common shape, but we've seen it so many times going through these Euros. But it's interesting to see how different sides are looking to get into this sort of shape. But if we go over to something I prepared earlier, which looks at the other formation then, we're going to see how this could be slightly different. So on this screen, we can see this 3-5-2. Now, the personnel stays the same, and we're expecting to see Victoria Palova, who's been used sometimes as this right winger, move into this sort of position. Though there's other options as well. We could see Chastity Grant come in and play this right wing back role because we've seen her do that at Aston Villa. But for now, it feels like Palova is the firm choice. Obviously, Kasper could push up there, and then you bring someone like Dijkstra or Sheridan Spitzer into the back line. But this feels like the most common 3-5-2 players that we're going to see in this formation. When this attacks, we're going to see Viviane Miedema. We can see Beerenstein operate as a front two. I wouldn't be surprised to see Miedema a little bit deeper, so acting more as the second striker, Beerenstein running on in beyond, which is going to be interesting. You know, Viviane Miedema is a huge box presence, but she's also dangerous on the edge. She's also very good at the hold-up play and the link-up play, so she really can do either role. We're then going to see, obviously, Brooks, and we're going to see Palova holding the width. I think what we'll see more of is a midfield three that is more of a supporting cast rather than a sort of clear box midfield. We'll see more of this diamond type shape, which is going to be interesting to see what happens with that. And then obviously the back three pushes up, and whichever side the ball goes, we'll see the supporting run. So if it's with Esme Brugge, we'll see Van der Donk go there, and Roord and Groenen will come across to cover that. If it's the other side, vice versa, everyone shifts across as so. So Yeah, Netherlands, two different shapes. In possession function quite similarly, out of possession functioning quite differently, because with this team we'd expect it to very much be a 5-3-2. So Pullover and Brooks will drop back into this 5-back. Then you've got this midfield three of Roord, Groenen and Van der Donk, and a front two of Beerenstein and Miedema. So they'll go and press. If we go back to the other shape, it's going to be slightly different because the pressing structure will be different. So if we move it back into their usual shape of a 4-2, the 4-3-3, we're going to see it more like, well, a more 4-3-3 or 4-5-1 type shape, where you're going to have a single pivot, you're going to have these midfield players, and then it will function more like a 4-1-4-1 is probably the most common thing we're going to see in this shape. You've got Miedema pressing up as sort of that lone striker, supported by two attacking midfielders, and then either Groenen or someone like Pullover in this position sweeping up. And that's exactly where I would make use of Damaris Egarola, but she's not really preferred in this team. So lots to think about for the Netherlands. In terms of build-up, it's quite similar across the two formations, but I'll demonstrate it in this one. We'll see the centre-back split, we'll see the defensive midfielder, and we'll see this usual shape with, we've seen this quite a few times. The wing-backs holding the width, looking to receive the passes out wide. Netherlands like to progress in these wide areas with good runners, good ball carriers, especially with Esme Brooks getting down this left-hand side. Now, if it's a three-back, this defence midfielder will be replaced by the central centre-back, which works if that's Janssen, or they'll move it so you see something like Pullover coming out wide, and then you'll see the usual defence midfielder dropping in there if it is that 3-5-2 shape. So, yeah, it's a formation which, despite the differences between the two, it's going to look rather similar regardless of how they utilise it. So, yeah, I think Netherlands, as much as people are talking about how there is a difference in the formations, and I do think that one is more attacking than the other, I think we're going to tend to see the 3-5-2 in games that they are perhaps slightly more favoured in. It depends how they fancy each opponent. I think the 3-5-2, though, to be fair, will be very good against someone like England, where you can have a specific attacking midfielder being on Kira Walsh and stopping her trying to play out. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, Netherlands looking very interesting going into this tournament. Some of the weaknesses, they do lack a clinical touch at times. I think Netherlands have struggled to find goals, particularly last year where they had injuries to Viviane Miedema and Linette Berenstein. They only scored 4 goals in qualifiers, but also they only conceded 4. So defensively, they've looked really solid. Can they now add some goals to make themselves a real force at this tournament? That is the big question. I also think they're quite vulnerable to transitions. We've seen that their midfield, I think, lacks a bit of legs in there. It's why I would have Victoria Pullover or Vika Kaptein in there, because I think overall it's quite an old midfield, especially if you were to put Egarola in there over Pullover. That is quite an ageing midfield. So, yeah, I think it's going to be important they have someone slightly younger in there to offer those legs. But overall, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens this summer with the Netherlands. So let's get into predictions then. Looking at the group stage, Jan-Kees, Wales up first. Quite a nice start to the tournament for the Netherlands.
Yeah, that's it's the best. It's the best version of the first game we could have wished for, because the pressure is on France and England in the first game, and obviously with nerves and everything, players first tournament maybe, then that might not help the teams. So yeah, it seems to be the comfortable game, but I think Wales has a lot of things to celebrate. So I'm not sure what kind of things we have to expect from Wales. Are they gonna get to another gear because they are at the Euros and it's their first time, or is it a lot of nerves coming into it, and it's going to be much more easier for the Netherlands? But the Netherlands have struggled against Scotland as well, and that's a nation of a similar kind of playing style. So I don't think it's going to be an easy game, but we surely think we have to win this.
Yeah, fair enough. And then looking at France and England, which of those do you see as more winnable? Do you think they'll both be draws? How would you assess those matchups?
Um, well, I actually have a feeling that France is going to win over England. Yeah, that might be bad news for you. But France, they have been known to never win anything, but they also are known to always get out of a group stage. So when there's no pressure, apparently they do, or at least a little less pressure, they do pretty well. And a lot of their players are fitter than the England squad. So I have a feeling France is the contender to go first in the group. I just don't have a lot of reasons why they don't. And I think there are more reasons for England to have some worries.
Yeah, fair enough. So then you're saying, I assume Wales bottom, so Netherlands or England for that second place. This
Yes.
will determine whether we have you on again or not.
Yeah, maybe. It's gonna be really tight. I think a draw would kill one of the contenders to get out of this group. It could be the Netherlands or England, but a draw and goal difference is gonna be key in this group, definitely. So I think it will be very tight, and the game against England with the Netherlands, I just can't predict what is going to happen because there are so many things going on, which is going to be kind of yeah, it's going to be a little bit soapy, a little bit witchy, because what is going on in people their minds? Like there's so many things going on field and off the field that people are maybe imploding or like exploding in a good way. So it's really hard to predict that one on a psychology level, I think.
Yeah, so a very diplomatic answer.
Yes.
Where do you think that Netherlands, how far do you think Netherlands will go then at this tournament? If I had to push you for a prediction.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if they get out of if they don't get out of the group stage. Let's be realistic, because England, I think there it depends so much on the way the tournament is going to go in the group stage. Because if England lose to France, then they have something to prove, and they have to win from the Netherlands. So I think it's just 3 years ago that they won the Euros. So they will put fire in those boots, and they will try to score a lot of goals. And I think that will be very overwhelming for the Netherlands. And there is not a lot of experience in some of the lines. So I think England could play the Netherlands in that way, that they just have something they have to win. But if they win against France, I think it's a different scenario. I think then it will be much more even, the chances. So I think it's very interesting to look at the psychology of the teams for how it's going to turn out, and which games are going to get played first. So yeah, it might be a diplomatic answer, but I really don't know what is going to happen, because we haven't seen Miedema and Berestein connect on the field for like a long time. So if Berestein is fit, that's also another question. So Miedema, she can score bangers, so she can get out of her really difficult situations and make the difference. So if she's fit, then she can do it. But I don't know. It's really, really hard to predict. Yeah, I really don't. So let's say a draw.
Okay, fair enough. Then, if so, depending on what happens, regardless of that, who do you think is going to win the Euros?
I think it will be Spain or England. Spain, Germany, and then England or France. I don't think the Netherlands have a shot at this tournament. Although I really want to. I have seen a lot of the games internationally, and especially Germany, that just blew us away. Of course, I will be rooting for them no matter what, and I believe in the squad. But I think, yeah, there are other teams that are a little bit more fit. And every game the Netherlands is going to play, whether it's France or England, it's going to be really tight, and they should not be too disappointed when they don't get out of the group stage, because one of these three teams should be rightfully disappointed, but rightfully also not be too concerned about their performances when they don't get out of the group stage.
Yeah, it's coined the group of death for a reason.
Yeah.
You're also You've also gone for Spain there, which is what every of our guests have done so far, so that Spain are going to win. They seem to be the popular choice there.
Yeah, and Germany could surprise everyone as well because they are really fit. They are so fit. What I've seen against the Netherlands, they just keep on running and they are so hard. They're so physical to play against. So I can see Germany being a really good contender to win against Spain in a final. So Germany is definitely a contender to win the Euros as well.
Nice. Well, that summarises our preview then. So that is everything for today. Go and check out Jan-Kees on Oranje Leeuwinnen. For any of our Dutch viewers, that may be more of an interesting channel to go and check out. But that is everything from us today. Go and check out our preview tomorrow, where we'll be talking about Wales. But that's everything. Thank you guys very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.